Welcome to the Financial Legacy Podcast. I am your host, Maria Ellis. On every episode, I will bring you my perspective and the perspective of my guests on financial planning and financial legacy topics. Here on the Financial Legacy Podcast, we are changing lives one person at a time by creating your own financial plan and financial legacy. To help you create and enjoy your financial success, connect with us at financiallegacy.life for your complimentary consultation. So today I would like to share with you ideas about how you could set up your plan for success in the creation of your family business legacy plan. In previous podcasts, I have shared with you a sample of a family business legacy plan, and we also even have spoken about what are some of the obstacles that you face when you're creating a plan. Now, I'm going to share with you ideas how to set up your goals for success when creating and implementing your family business legacy plan. So where do we start, right? So in order to create a clear vision and mission for your business plan and continue success, you need to, as a business owner, reflect on the past and look at the present and visualize the future, right? Your business vision and your mission will provide a roadmap for the company, senior management, for middle management, employees, people who are involved with your business, your future generation, to actively participate and execute the business succession plan. So if you anticipate transferring, for instance, your business to a family member or to employees, or if you're considering the sale of your business, it is best to start planning for the transition sooner rather than later. Ideally, the transition should be gradual, multi-year process due to the complexity that is involved in most business transition plans. For example, if you want to exit your business within the next 3 to 5 years, now is the time to start the process. While 3 to 5 years time frame surprises most business owners that I work with, they feel like, wow, that's such a long time. Taking a long-term approach will allow you as the business owner for a well thought out transition. So it's important to give yourself time for the process. As you know, it takes a team of many individuals to create and achieve a shared vision, and it often starts by reviewing and analyzing some of the key business questions. For instance, some of the questions could be, who are we, right? What kind of service do we currently provide? What have we accomplished so far? What markets do we serve and provide value to? What are some of the company's strengths and the company's challenges? What other markets can we serve in the near future? Those are very important and very valid questions, because whether you continue your business or whether you sell your business, that is critical in the process. Although you may have specific goals for business growth and profitability, planning for various outcomes can help you be prepared for any contingency that may occur. As we know, life changes all the time. The only sure thing that we have is that there are changes, that life changes on a regular basis. So having a contingency plan is also a good idea. So what other things should you consider? One that comes to mind immediately is cash flow, right? Cash flow planning is one of the most important components of a strategic business planning, really at any stage of the life cycle of your business. Cash flow determines your ability to make choices, right? So your plan should consider also who will assume ownership after the transition plan. It also needs to address how ownership will be structured. So here are some other important considerations. Last week we talked about taxes. So what are some of the tax implications? Tax implications are one factor determining the structure of a particular deal, right? It's very important to take into consideration tax strategies to maximize cash flow and to maximize overall return on equity on your investment, right? So considerations such as long-term goals of the family, the time frame of the transfer, as well as the level of control and involvement that you will maintain, you as the business owner will maintain during and after the transfer should also be addressed, right? So you want to be involved part-time, or you want to totally dissociate yourself from the business. I mean, those are important considerations that you need to address. So transitioning a business can result in very different tax ramifications for the business and its shareholders, depending on how the deal is structured. Considering the different scenarios of how they will relate to your objectives will enable you to make informed decisions. And I often emphasize it's easier to make a decision when you have all the information available, right? So making informed decisions is a critical part of the process. Business owners may have done extensive estate planning, identifying how their personal assets should be managed. And however, oftentimes, many of the business owners fail to include their business assets in their own personal estate plan, which can lead to time-consuming frustration and a very costly estate administration. So make sure that when you do your planning, you include both your personal as well as your business, both in terms of your assets as well as your liabilities, so that you know, in fact, how much equity, is available after you pay taxes and all your obligations that you personally and the business will have or may have. So planning for orderly succession of your business involves more than just handing off the financial responsibilities and rights. It is also an opportunity for you to identify and to train a successor who can continue running your business at the same way that you would run the business. So again, if you have a business plan and strategy, you could train people so that they can continue your wishes at the time of passing or even during the transition period. So knowing that plans are in place can give you, the business owner, really a lot of peace of mind, right? And could possibly maximize your overall returns. Also, as business owners approach retirement, some founder owners tend to scale down their involvement in the day-to-day operations, leading to operational and financial issues, and can actually reduce customer service satisfaction. So you don't want your sales to come down, you don't want your cash flow to come down, because that's going to impact the value of your business, as an example. This is also a time, as you're approaching retirement and thinking about exiting the company, this is also a great opportunity for you to train the second generation, right? In order to continue your family legacy. it is very important to pay attention to the operational changes associated with the transitioning of the ownership from the founder, from you, the founder, to the second generation, including formalizing equity stakes and internal processes for the business, and establishing a clear organizational structure, and of course, improving customer service. As your sales increasing, as you have more clients, greater profitability should follow if you have all these systems in place. While the traditional view of family business is that the first generation business founder are the entrepreneurial heroes, it is important to recognize that the second generation leaders play a very important role in professionalizing the business and building out new initiatives, building on the legacy of the first generation in order to develop great family as well as the continuation of the great business. So while the first generation, while the business owner concentrated in making the business successful and oftentimes neglecting their own personal health and their family relationships, the second generation tends to be more focused on new initiatives, building legacy, where you have both a great business and also a great family. And communications in this aspect is very, very important. So the successful second generation leaders tend to focus more in the first generation, more than the first generation, on gathering and aligning members, family members, to create a strong family foundation as well as a successful enterprise. So as you could see, the second generation is very important in terms of continuation of the business. And for them, the family and the communication and the governance of the business, the family business, is very important. So they encourage family participation, cohesion, and they nurture and they encourage communication. So that's very important in the family, for the family to continue to be successful. So as I'm thinking about succession planning and thinking about what will be a good example, for instance, of people, business owners, entrepreneurs who have been very successful, founders who have been very successful, I'm thinking of John D. Rockefeller. I mean, he's well known. He's a titan. He's a titan of the Gilded Age, as you know. But his only son, John D. Rockefeller Jr., had a very difficult task of managing not only the family fortune, but also he had to rehabilitate the family name after his father, who was the founder of the company, was accused of being, a ruthless monopolist, in his business during that point in time. So as you can see, there are challenges in terms of what the second generation needs to be concerned about, not only in running the business, but also in keeping the name and being able to maintain that integrity, that family integrity that created that founder, that created that business to begin with. So Rockefeller Jr., knowing this, very wise for his age and time, he mentored his own 5 sons and his daughter to enhance his father's charitable legacy. So he hired Rockefeller Jr. hired talented advisors to professionalize the family investments and philanthropy and prepare for the third generation as far as, social philanthropic leadership. As you know, the Rockefeller Rockefellers are well known for their family legacy. So the second generation is therefore crucial for that transition of being a single-minded focus in the business development to a broader set of initiatives where family communication, governance, and cohesion are fostered, they are nurtured, right? So keep that in mind. It is often in the second generation the family actually creates something that is called family councils, right? Which is the beginnings of the family legacy. How should the business be managed? So the need for family legacy may have only been a minor concern for the wealth creation for the founder, but for the second generation is really very important. So the core question that arises in the second generation is not how the family can create more wealth, but rather what is the purpose of wealth, right? That's an important consideration. Why do we work so hard? Why do we want to continue the legacy? What's the purpose of having wealth and being rich, right? What's the purpose? What's life all about other than work? So while I was doing this research, I came across through a Harvard Business School case study. As you may recall, I went to Harvard Business School and participated in what is called the OPM, which is a really interesting class for business owners. And so I'm often reading Harvard business cases, and you learn a lot through those cases. So this particular case, it is, believe it or not, something called the 1,000-year plan. 1,000, all right? So this is 40 generations. This is a 40 generations family business legacy plan. And it was created by two brothers, David, who is 62, and Sammy Lee, who is 55. So they are actually the fourth generation of the Lee Kuhn family. And you may or may not be aware, but they are very great business owners operating out of Hong Kong. And they were established like in 1881, and they are the largest manufacturer of oyster sauce in the world. And so they have been in business for over 100 years, over 130 years. So this family had expanded considerably into other businesses as well as to philanthropy, weathering two major breakups in earlier years. Family breaks up because they didn't have a structure plan. And so I have seen, families that actually destroy the business because they don't have a clear mandate as to how best to proceed. So creating a 1,000-year plan for this family, the Lee family, they wanted to prevent from happening, for having disruptions in the business or from having family feuds. So Sammy, who is the older of the fourth generation, in 2002, he decided to create a family council, so which oversees the family business, the family investments, and so he also created a family office, and a family constitution was drawn up with an aim to build a stronger family bonds. So again, to create some sort of structure so that people know how best to proceed, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. So they now have an opportunity to come up with a family system that is sustainable. They factor in the need to adapt continuously to change, and it was backed up by the values that the family had stood up for many, many years. values such as kindness, loving, health is very important, right? Um, Happiness, having empathy for people, for their clients, for their customers, for their family, for their stakeholders, being good to each other. I mean, that's their particular value, family value. They also realize that values can change over time, so they're open to adding additional values to their family constitution. So in that way, new ideas could be added to it. One of the first restructuring moves was for them to create what is called the Owners Council to be able to oversee the business side, the family investments, and to be able to have that balance between the business and the family. And in a way, what they did is brilliant because they decided to have a mission and a vision both for the family as well as for the business. So they call this the family first and business first. So, which meant if you go into a family luncheon, for instance, they would only be talking about family kinds of issues. They were not allowed to be discussing business in a family luncheon. All right. So, on the other hand, if they were going to a business meeting, they would not bring any personal family issues to that meeting. So that's what they call it, family first and then business first. So maintain those things separate. So emotions are minimized when making important business decisions. This family wanted to create a system that could allow for changes, so that they inserted a clause in their constitution stipulating that the Owners' Council could change the constitution with a 75% majority. So if the majority of the members voted for a change, then that change would be implemented. So again, when you create a plan, you should have that flexibility. You need to think ahead in terms of future generations and their future needs, and be able to have, as part of the document, the ability to be able to alter it, to make additions or deletions as they may be necessary with change in times and marketplace and whatnot. So what else did they did? They wanted to make room for the scenario that a very capable future family member could have a chance to become a CEO of the company. So right now, what they have done is they have kept business and the family separate, right? Two different documents. And they don't really have any family members involved as CEO or holding important positions within the organization. So as part of the document, they also added a clause to it that says that if there is a family member that is very capable, in the future, they could in fact become the CEO of the company, again, if they had a majority, if 75% of the council members were able to approve it. So again, that's another example of being flexible. Since not everyone could work in the family core business, they wanted to create more touch points for family members to get involved. So the way that they did that is they allow the family members to participate in what is called the governance activities, and being able to be part of the running board training programs on governance. So governance, again, is very important for them and very important for family continuity. Though this family legacy plan could be a governance owner and be on the board or a family foundation. So you could also, if you were an artist and decided to or a doctor and decided to not to be involved in the family business, you could be a doctor and come to family assemblies and family retreats, and to be able to participate in and can provide that bond and that continuity, right? So should this family, the Lee family that we're studying right now, should they eventually combine the two vision statements where they have separate managers for the business and for the investment companies and the family council? Well, that is something that as future generations come and as needs arise, they are in a position to be able to make those changes, right? How should they celebrate diversity and individual as well as collective ideas, and create a system that reinforces that balance that they want to have between, the business and the family and the continuity, and that could be continuously adapt to changes, right? So that's a question that is forever present on their minds. So as I finalize this sharing with you of this successful plan, at the end of the day, right, or in 1,000 years from now, whatever they do for society and for the world, for themselves as a family or as an organization, they have to be worthy, right, of being around for 1,000 years, right? So they need to be able to provide value to their clients, their customers, their stakeholders, in order for them to be able to continue to operate for generations from now. But I find that to be quite interesting because I have not seen a plan that was 1,000 years. So I wanted to share that example with you. So this is an example of how you could set yourself for success when creating a family plan for generations to come, right? However, I know that most of us entrepreneurs do not plan for many generations. Oftentimes, we do not plan for even our second generation, never mind our third generation, because we as business owners are so concerned and so focused on a yearly basis, right? We want to make sure that productivity is there, the sales are there, the product profitability, the continuation of the profitable business. So oftentimes we sort of work in the business, but we don't really have that long-term vision. So I really, 40 years, 40 generations and 1,000 years is a long time, even for me. But nonetheless, my wish for you is for you to set yourself up and your family and your business for success, not only in this short term, 1, 2 years, first, second, third generation, but also for the success of your future generations. So that is my wish for you. And I hope that what I have shared with you in this particular example will inspire you to start thinking a little longer term, maybe 5 years, 10 years. So do let me know how I can help you sort of expand your horizon and think on a much longer term basis. So in closing, I would like to thank you for tuning into the Financial Legacy Podcast here with me, Maria Ellis. To learn more about how to work with me, go to financiallegacy.live. Here on the Financial Legacy Podcast, we are changing lives one person at a time to help you create and enjoy your financial success. Connect with us at financiallegacy.live for your complimentary consultation. Thank you.
In providing answers, neither Maria Ellis nor the Financial Legacy Podcast and guest speakers are acting as certified financial planners, advisors, certified financial analysts, CPAs, economists, accountants, or lawyers. Neither Maria Ellis or the Financial Legacy Podcast and guest speakers make any recommendations as to any specific securities or investments. All content is for informational and general purposes only and does not constitute as financial or legal advice. You should consult your own tax, legal, and financial advisors regarding your particular situation. Neither Maria Ellis nor Financial Legacy Podcast and guest speakers accept any responsibility for any loss that may arise from accessing or reliance from any information in this podcast. And to the extent permitted by law, we exclude all liabilities for any loss or damages derived directly or indirectly arising from the use of the information.